You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
You're listening to Mission Log the Orville, an episode-by-episode discussion of the adventures of the crew of the USS Orville.
Mike, I am so excited that we are just going to sit here today and try to figure out something to talk about before season 3 of the Orville returns in June. I have no idea what else we're going to talk about I'm an improviser, so we can make this work.
What do you mean you don't know what to talk about? It's Mission Log the Orville, where we're going to open that jar of pickles and look inside every episode for messages, morals,
But we already
meanings.
did that.
Do we not have any episodes to... Did we not have an episode this week to watch?
No, we already talked to Andre Bormanis, David A. Goodman. I don't know how else to stall or give us a good excuse to.
Well, if you folks are willing to bear with us and hear us out for the next, I don't know, however long it takes, we might be able to come up with something. I mean, Jessica does have a background in improv.
It's funny you should say that.
Why?
I do a great Seth MacFarlane impression.
You know what? That's such a great impression that, you're just going to have to sit back and watch.
I'm going to do a quick costume change, because even though my voice is really good and my mannerisms, I'm just going to do a quick costume change, and I'll see you back here in a second.
That sounds good. But seriously, we have... a situation that's kind of been, brewing for about the last month.
Situation?
Our production opportunity.
Yes.
Our production folks reached out to Seth MacFarlane and his team to be interviewed prior to season 3. And he agreed to be on the show. And we got a chance to sit down a couple of days ago and do that. And we're going to have that for you today.
So sit back, relax, enjoy our time with Seth MacFarlane.
On behalf of the Roddenberry Podcast Network and Mission Log the Orville, we are delighted to welcome the creator of the Orville, Seth MacFarlane.
So we've had 2 of your contemporaries with us, Seth, and this is the most important question. We're just going to get it out of the way, and hopefully it's not too big of a spoiler. But are you officially, on the record, a cat person or a dog person?
You have
to answer one or the other.
I mean, I have 2 cats, but it's, I had dogs growing up. It's just I work like 90 hours a week, so you can't really leave a dog at home the way even a cat gets a little ornery with you, but the cats at least are I spend enough time with them during the day that I could be a responsible cat owner.
Yeah, well, so the reason why I didn't think you liked cats is because your writers or you are so against them on Family Guy that I thought you had a real thing against them. So
yeah, I actually have not written on Family Guy since about 2010 or 11. So
you're exonerated from this.
Somebody with an axe to grind.
Yeah, that statute of limitations is definitely over with. And, I bet dog person just because Brian is sort of your on-screen persona in many ways. So
yeah, we had my family had a dog named Brian. He was a Malamute when I was growing up. So that's kind of where that came from.
That's sweet.
That is awesome. So you're a 5-time Emmy Award winner. Hopefully all of this is correct. A 5-time Grammy Award nominee, an Oscar nominee, and you were inducted into the Television Hall of Fame, and you have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
I would be a happy person.
But if I understand this correctly, your performance hosting the Oscars got you nominated for an Emmy.
Did it? I guess. I sure. Why not? Let's go with that. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that was a thing.
Manifest that though.
Yeah. I'm trying. It's been that was 2013, so I'm trying to remember exactly what the timeline was. Yeah.
But you didn't win, so it doesn't matter. I thought this was something recent.
Didn't win. No,
it didn't matter.
Expunged from memory. I just thought that was a really neat way to kind of bring things full circle. Emmy nomination for hosting the Oscars. That's pretty outstanding. entertaining piece of trivia, I think.
Hollywood eating itself.
A self-licking ice cream cone, as we call it.
Exactly.
Oh, well, funnily enough, years ago I got to see you and Sarah Bareilles perform together. So
yes,
what Mike would like to say is we think you should be on Broadway next. And I think is that actually something that interests you based off of...
It's a lot of work. It's a time commitment that I just don't know that I could take away from my other jobs. I would probably, before I did Broadway, I would probably do a film musical of some kind. That's still sort of on my to-do list, mainly because the orchestras are bigger.
But that's cool.
Yeah, that's still on the bucket list. We'll get to that at some point. Yeah, Broadway's a real commitment. I mean, look, I had to drink before I did the Oscars, so I don't know that I could do that every night on a stage in New York.
think anyone would say, like someone I know performed for Elia Kazan and said you need to have a shot of alcohol before you go live, and I think it's part of the tool belt no one talks about.
If it was just a shot that did it, then I think it would be fine. But with the Oscars, it was like 3 tumblers full of bourbon before I even walked out on stage. So it was the only way I was getting through it.
I love that you mentioned the orchestra part of it. I think it's such a huge aspect of everything you do, and you've talked about its importance for Family Guy, and it's so clearly its own character in the Orville. So I'm so curious of like how you got to be at this position where you're like, I get to do whatever the hell I want, and I want a whole orchestra. When did you know you wanted that and like really made that part of your writer?
Well, I mean, it's different. For Family Guy, I think it's about 50 or 60. For the Orville, it's about 90 each week. And to me, it's, look, if you're spending the kind of money that these platforms spend for visual effects, for sets, you don't want to limp to the finish line with like a Casio, doing your score. It's really, for a show like this, it's a character like anything else. Yes. And it's particularly if you have composers that can really, manage an ensemble that size, it's almost essential. I mean, the Orville, I think there's times almost to a fault I'm in the mix and I'm like, can you turn the music up a little bit? Because it's really good. And the trick is to, not scream it in people's faces. But it's a very important part of certainly of this show, certainly of Orville.
Early on, Jessica identified me as the music guy on the show and on our podcast. And it is, I'm glad you touched on that. It is a character in the show. It brings you into that suspension of disbelief. It raises the tension. It's world building. It's part of the show, and it's done so incredibly well. And when I see the orchestra recording music on YouTube videos, it is a phenomenal effort. That is, in and of itself, a world-class production, and it's just part of this bigger TV show that you've done now for 2 seasons, working on number 3.
Yeah, it's in many ways my favorite part. It's the one part of the process where I don't really have to do anything but sit back and watch. It's the one part of the industry that's still, as much as I dabble in music, it's the one part of the film industry that still has an air of mystery to me. Visual effects, I'm amazed at what these artists are doing. I kind of have a sense of, how it's being done, but it's still incredible. Set design, writing, direction. There's so many parts of the business that are, you've now seen, what's behind the curtain. You've seen how the wizard makes the big head. And these symphonic scores and how quickly these composers write this music, and I still walk in there and I'm still just, my mind is blown. But you have 90 people who are playing this music really the first time they're seeing it.
Wow.
These contract musicians, that this is just what they do. They rehearse a few times, maybe if it's a big cue, maybe 3 or 4 times, and then you record it, and it sounds like they've been rehearsing for a month. It's an extraordinary thing to watch.
And also to know, as the composer, this is when we need to hear something, this is when we don't need to hear something.
Yeah, and to know that it's all original, that it's all brand new, written, in the past month or 2 months, and and we're lucky. We have some terrific composers on the show. This season is sort of this upcoming season is sort of a next level of symphonic inclusion.
The bulk of the work was done by John Cotty, and is it Debney?
John Debney
and Matthew Cotty.
Kevin Koska, and then and Joel McNeely, who has scored most of the shows this year. Who's and I've worked with him for about 10 years. Really, just kind of the sound of the Orville. But there's some great scores this year.
Oh. Well, we're looking forward. No, we're looking forward to hearing them, and I'm looking forward to hearing what Jessica was about to say.
Well, so there's so many things I want to talk about, especially. So I've had people that have had the pleasure of being on set with you, and they talk about how detail oriented. So it's kind of you are. So it's nice to know that, like with music, you just go, I enjoy it or I don't. So, but what is that penchant of yours that's like I have to make sure the pips and the ranks are exactly right? Like, where does that creativity exist in your brain? Is it more compulsion or is it like? Or excitement? I don't know what I'm trying to ask. Are you OCD and are you undiagnosed?
It's probably a little of both. My psychiatrist will say like the same things that are the reason you're talking to me right now. In therapy, the same things that f*** you up are the things that enable you to do.
Same side of the coin, right? Or different side of the same coin.
It is part of it. The only part of it I can really quantify is that if I'm spending 12 and 13, 14 hours a day, and in some weeks, 7 days a week working on something, I better be really happy with it by the time I walk away, because it's the expenditure, the life expenditure that you commit to with something like this is, it's your life. Like it's all you do. It's why so many marriages collapse in Hollywood, because you're just working all the time. And this is a perfect example. So, if I'm putting in that kind of sweat, the trade-off is, all right, if I'm going to put in this kind of time, I want to be happy with everything. It's sort of that simple, I guess.
I think that's great, because you also know when you can sort of tell when someone has the vision up front or is trying to fix things on the back end. And we have the pleasure of talking to Andre and David too. And so not only do you have like really excellent people working with you, you've collected those people and brought them with you. So you also have people that are on your side but know how to challenge you. So how important are they to that process of like seeing that through for you?
Very important. For me, the best case scenario, and there are a lot, certainly my production designer, Stephen Lineweaver, Myri Chisholm, who did, she was our costume designer. Our visual effects supervisors, Brooke Noska and Brandon Fayette. There are a lot of people, of course, Howard Berger, our makeup artist. There are a lot of people who you can just kind of trust them to do their jobs, and it's still a huge undertaking, but at least, I'm at a point with these people where, all right, I can walk onto a set. I know I'm probably going to like what he's done before I even walk onto the set. That I don't micromanage for the sake of micromanaging. My favorite thing in the world is when I cast an actor and I don't have to do anything. Like I don't have to direct that actor. They come in already knowing what they want to do with the part, and it aligns with what's on the page. Mm-hmm. And all I got to do is point the camera. That's an ideal situation. I don't, I know there's like some directors who kind of have to pee on everything. I'm not one of those people. It's a gift when, it's someone else's pee.
That's a great Brian reference somehow, but I started out that way thinking that unless I did every piece of it, it wasn't great. And then recognizing that no one has the potential, no one has the time to do that. But then also you can have the some parts make something greater. So is there something that happened where it's like, that was a mistake, but we have a better show because of it that you can think of off the top of your head?
Yeah, well, it's even with that kind of a team to rely on, it's still it's a mountainous undertaking. Like you're still working crazy hours a week. A better way to lens it would be, Family Guy, for example, when I created the show, the Brian-Stewie relationship wasn't something that ever occurred to me. There was a writer, Gary Giannetti, who wrote on the show, who really kind of locked into that and wrote that first episode. And that's a good example of you create something and then other people come on board and they find things in it that you didn't see and they make it better. That's the essence of what, when you really succeed, I think, in this business is if you're going to get plenty of glory. You don't need to you don't need to make it all about yourself. Mm-hmm. There are people who can who can and do improve on what you did, and that's probably the best example I can think of. That's really the most fundamentally impactful relationship on Family Guy, I think, is that Brian-Stewie relationship, and I wish I could take credit for that, but I can't.
But you're a better leader for not. I'm going to let Mike talk.
Yeah.
I have all these questions. Go
Yeah,
for
we
it, Mike.
have so many questions. We're hitting on so many things.
We'll see you in here until 5.
You guys can have more time if you want, if Cassie will allow it.
I don't. Great. Awesome. I'll use it. We'll use it. I'll show you.
We'll find out here. That's awesome. So Mission Log began when Rod Roddenberry decided to do a deep dive into each episode of Star Trek, looking for meanings, morals, messages, and to see if each episode stands the test of time. And we've applied that format to the Orville, as you know. And we parse every episode. And episodes that you've written and people in your writer's room, your producers, co-producers, have dealt with grief, women's rights, social media, porn addiction, religious zealotry, and the hard science of astrology.
It broke my heart.
How do you decide which issues to tackle, and which of those episodes do you think were tackled particularly well?
Shows that have aired thus far. That's a tough one. I mean, look, you can write about something, and then the day after the show airs, you can read something that changes your opinion or broadens your opinion. That happens all the time. Certainly with an episode like About a Girl, at the time, that was, we felt like we were locked into what this was. There are things now that I might do differently. Just as far as how I break that, even just the use of language in that show.
I think we all learned. We even learned while we were covering that episode. I talked to a good transgendered friend of mine who, more than anything, just congratulated the fact that a primetime show was talking about it and still had a ways to go. But you don't want to scare an ally away from learning more by saying, you screwed that up.
Yeah, and I think we see a lot of both. I see a lot of both. I see people who have that same reaction as your friend, who are like, yeah, great, you're partway there. Thanks for talking about it. Now here's what I can add to here's what you might have left out.
Sure.
And then you have the other side where it's, how dare you try to tell this story without getting everything right? And that I have no defense for, because you can only cover the bases that nobody's perfect, but I think at each time you get a little better at it. As far as the episodes that succeed to me, my favorite episode that we've done of the first 2 seasons was Lasting Impressions, which wasn't really that deep an episode when it came to talking about any particular social issue, but to me it was this kind of show at its best, where it's all about the people, and doesn't really require a whole lot of money. All it requires is a really good story and the wherewithal to explore all facets of it. So, look, there are things like Mad Idolatry. I like that episode. I think that was a fun show that explored religion in kind of a messed up way. But it's tough. There are things I love about all the episodes, and there are things I look back at, and I'm sure with season 3 it'll be the same thing. I feel like we're working on all cylinders this season. I think we've done some of our best work, but I'm sure I'll look back in the future and say, yeah, we could have done that a little differently.
Well, let me ask you this, because you segued perfectly into my next point. The second half of season 2, really, really took off, not just in ratings, but the critics finally got on board. Lasting Impressions had about 3 million viewers the night of, which was, slightly above average, I think 3.3 million, but about 5.5 million people ended up watching the show by the end of the week, through on demand, just by word of mouth and that kind of thing. So just a bunch of momentum there by the end of the season. First of all, were there any sort of lessons learned through that first season and a half that really contributed to the success of the second half of season 2? And just the follow-up would be, how much of that momentum were you able to keep through the extended time off?
Well, yeah. I mean, the big lesson was tone. I mean, we did set out to do a sci-fi show that had comedic elements to it. I think how exactly that manifested itself and how we intended for it to manifest itself changed a lot from season 1 or season 2, from season 1 to season 2. Certainly in season 2, I mean, look, the stories that we told in season 1, I stand by. The way we executed some of them, I wince a little bit when I go back and I look, because we've kind of settled into this self-admission that we really are a dramatic sci-fi show with comedic elements that come through the personalities of the characters. And certainly in season 3, I feel like we're firing on all cylinders as far as embracing that paradigm. It was around, the God, I'm thinking about what was the second to last episode of season 1. Yeah, probably late in season 1, around Mad Idolatry was when I feel like the show started to kind of figure out what it was, and going into season 2, it was really kind of settling in, and of course, like many shows, season 3 is when you really kind of start to be a fully formed organism. I mean, part of the thing was that Fox had marketed the show as a hard comedy at the beginning. I think in many ways the pandemic actually helped the show take a step away and gave people a chance to kind of discover it on their own terms, and not be told what it was. And how many people discovered it during that time, we're about to find out. Wow. Because I just don't know. We're only going to know after season 3 airs.
So apart from just PR alone, right, which is like, oh, Seth MacFarlane is doing Family Guy in space, we have you on a whole new platform, which is exciting. When you knew that switch was going to happen, what did you, as a creator and as the captain, go, I can finally do this now? Or I'm excited I can have the budget for this, or if any?
Yeah, on Hulu, you mean?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's twofold. I mean, the budgets are, I mean, look, it's a wonderful thing because you can, of course, logistically do things you couldn't do. You got to be really careful when the larger budget comes that you still are doing a show about people. That if someday that budget went away, you'd still be able to make the show, and you haven't locked into this trap of relying on the visual effects budget to tell your stories. I think we've done that in season 3. There are some shows in season 3 that are, I think, scope-wise comparable to anything I've seen on TV. There are other shows that are pretty small. So we do try to do both. The big difference for me being on Hulu or any streaming platform, and the thing that frustrated me the most about being on Fox or on any network was, I guess particularly Fox, was that there was just no time to create moments. And by moments, I mean anything from, in the original Star Wars where Luke is standing on that sand dune looking out at the two suns, and you hear the score, and there's or to use a Star Trek reference, that aggressively earnest moment where Wesley Crusher comes out in his Starfleet uniform for the first time, and is that big orchestral, so he sits down, and it's a very heartfelt moment, but it takes time to do those. You have to kind of commit to the fact that you're going to be lingering on this for a little bit. It's really hard to do with network TV because you can have a scene that is perfect, that creates the emotional moment that you want, but you got to cut it down because you got to squeeze everything into 43 minutes. And that's really not how storytelling works. Not every story is 43 minutes. Some are shorter, some are longer. And that was what got really frustrating, is that, there were moments in Lasting Impressions where I look at it now and I'm like, that scene needed more time. That scene, that needed a longer beat. That needed the scene with Gordon and Kelly in his quarters at the very end. Both those actors were fantastic in that scene. But I wanted more of it. I wanted to give them a little bit more time to breathe, and you can't do it.
It's the unspoken jazz notes, right? Like,
Yeah.
just because also your audience is caught up with you. And this is one of my favorite things to compliment the show on. And I got to talk to David and Andre about it. You guys spent so much time making us interested in the characters from the beginning of when you meet them as the captain, and then from every episode moving forward, that everything is earned. But you're right. I think I'm looking forward to seeing just those lingering moments of them looking outside of the starship, or where we are projecting our thoughts onto them too.
Yeah, identity.
Our goal this season. There are moments on this show. I hope people will be genuinely weeping.
Yeah.
You already had me. You got me with lasting impressions already every time, though. So please don't do that to me.
We've identified.
Right.
You did.
Yeah, Identity 1 and 2 would not have worked without a Happy Refrain or Into the Fold. That character development just needed to be there. And as far as those moments to breathe, one of the things, and I'm not sure if it's part of a format or just something that happens organically or something that just happens subconsciously, is that it seems like nearly every episode has a conversation about halfway through, where Ed and Kelly or Kelly and Claire just ask a question. They just ask the questions. Who are we to decide this? Who are we to impose our ethics on somebody else? If we're not going to defend the principles on which we were founded, what are we doing here? And that question gets asked. It doesn't get preachy. It doesn't have the you see Timmy moment where you have your public service announcement. It just asks the audience to think. And that's the kind of thing that as you mentioned before, I hope doesn't get lost in that big special effects budget.
No, if anything, it's more serviced because we have the time. Yeah, no, that's a fundamental part of the show that is still the heart and soul. That hasn't gone away. If anything, there's more of it, particularly in a few episodes that I mean, that's at the heart of it. So yeah, I mean that's the fun stuff to write. Those are the most fun scenes to write. It's
Two of them in particular, and I was going to kind of leave this as an aside, except Jessica convinced me to bring it up with you. Both from Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Kelly said this. Adrian Palicki, who's awesome. I used to say things like, find my soulmate. Well, guess what? You don't find soulmates. You become soulmates by growing together. And if you've been through this marriage like I have, you'd be wise enough to know that. Just a beautiful sentiment. I've been married 19 years, coming up on 20. I needed to hear that. And I also needed to hear marriage changes. It evolves. It goes through phases. There's times where you feel like you don't love the other person anymore and that you never will. And then one day you do. That is life-changing writing. When you dig into every line of a show like Jessica and I do, you find things like that you can apply to your life to put things in perspective and make better decisions. And that's why we love the show, and that's why we are so thankful to have you on here. Not that we're done yet. I just wanted to throw that out there.
We'll save Cassie from having an anxiety attack too.
Yeah, that's a. I mean, that's a good. It's a good example of a moment that again doesn't need to be on a sci-fi show. And I say that as a positive thing. Like those are the moments that if you can sustain those, you know you're still about the people. In the back of my mind, my goal with this show, to some degree, is always like, all right, we know we can do sci-fi, we know we can reach that audience, but if we can also write a script and look, this is what the Next Generation did. So they're really the only sci-fi show that I can think of that ever really did this successfully to such a degree. I think to myself, all right, we can get the sci-fi audience. If my mother was watching this show, who never, as long as she was alive, had just no interest in sci-fi, no interest in the genre, but every once in a while there'd be an episode of that show. I'd be like, yeah, check this one out. This one you might like. And when it was about the people, when it was about a personal story, and the people felt multidimensional and not just action figures in uniforms, that's when it really got good, and you realized they're doing something special here. And that's over the years, that's a big lesson that I took, certainly from that show, and that I've tried to apply to the Orville. The characters should be as dimensionalized, as if I was watching a drama, as if I was watching, Big Little Lies or a prestige drama. Like you don't get an out. You don't get a get out of jail free card just because you're on a spaceship. You have to play by the same dimensionalized rules of character. So, and that scene's a good example of where we were trying to do that, and it seems to have worked.
And that's one of the things we talk about on Mission Log all the time, is that science fiction, when done well, is not about 400 years in the future. It's not about a spaceship. It's not about quantum drive. It's about people right here, right now, today. Now, what sci-fi does do well is give you a global perspective on things, and allows you to look at these issues from a global perspective, possibly from a less biased position, because it's not us, it's them, somebody else. Right. It's the Caliban, or it's the Mocklins, or it's the Krill. It's not us. And that depth of character is done so well. And people talk about the comedic elements. Some of the funniest times I've ever had has been at work with people I work with, right? Because it's that's not mutually exclusive of having fun and being funny. We could do a whole show on COVID delays and things like that. How'd you keep the whole band together during the break?
I as surprise, I'm somebody I have a great respect for science. We hired. Look, Disney had their protocols, and they're very good protocols. We also hired an outside consultant firm called Pan Defense, which was run by this fellow, Dr. Larry Brilliant, of all names.
Wow.
Who used to work for the World Health Organization and was one of the key players in the smallpox eradication, and created this consultant firm afterwards that dealt with pandemics. And so when COVID came around, I'd been familiar with his work tangentially through I had a couple of friends who were doctors, and they revered this guy, and I looked into it and just wrote him a letter and said, listen, this was early on. So we have no idea how we're going to get back to work. Do you have any advice? And he brought the company on board and really helped us create our protocols to the point at which we were really the safest set in town. It was really the only way we could have finished the show. There are crowd scenes where you have 100 people, I think, 200 people on a couple of occasions in the middle of a pandemic. How do you keep those people safe? And we did not have one transmission on set.
I don't think any other set can say that.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing group of people. And again, for me, sitting on those Zooms once a week with this team of epidemiologists, which should have been dull, it was so interesting. I feel like I'm at a free college lecture. On I'm
like listening to a podcast. I know French now, or whatever. That's so great.
Yeah, it was really fascinating. It was a pain in the ass, but at the same time, it was a really interesting bit of schooling and something that I really had no real knowledge of.
I think you can sleep at night, though, too, knowing that you took care of people and you did the best. Like, there's so many people who could view themselves as above the rules with this, and a lot of people do. But you know that you kept people safe, and I think that kind of integrity shows up in your work too, because you share your views honestly online. You share your views as honestly as possible in the present moment in your shows, and you back it up with action. So I think that's really admirable.
We'll try.
And David A. Goodman and Andre Bormanis, both friends of the show, both independently and unsolicited, and I think unpaid.
They're probably scared.
Reflected what just admired your leadership style. They both called you I think the smartest person they know, and they said you were a very effective leader and a great manager. Any tips? Anything about your leadership style that
if you
think
give yourself
resonates
one
so
compliment,
well?
what would it be?
Look, you can be FDR or you can be Hitler. Those are the two choices. It's FDR surrounded himself with people who could do their jobs better. I don't know, man.
No, it's good. No, I love it.
It's really, to me, it's the knowledge that, look, you have to have a clear idea of what you want. It's a balance. You have to have a clear idea of what you want and allow people to know that, this, we're not just guessing here. This is what we're after. But at the same time, that each department head, each person can do their job better than you can do their job. And if you let them do their job, you're going to get to a place where you can walk on to that set and go, I know I'm going to like this before I even show up because I have the right people. It's casting. It's all casting. So once you have those people in place, and it takes years, obviously, to build that team, but once you have that team, it just gets more and more. There's still a ton of work, but it's that, and also there's no, like, I'm trying to think. I don't think there's ever a point on set where I've lost my. I hope. I think at the end of the day, I can be passive aggressive at times, but that's the Connecticut in me. That's the worst that it gets. But it's for the most part, it's a pretty calm set. If people are if it's the right bunch of people and it's the right department heads and it's the right craftsmen, it's the right visual effects artists, and it's going to work. And leadership is really just, you don't really have to do much to have that said about you. I don't know. Like by season 3, I was just surrounded by people who were just, and you see it all over the show. The sets are magnificent this year. The visual effects are magnificent. The costumes are gorgeous. The music is gorgeous. I mean, it's just a really talented group, and every person had such a command of their department that it just all came to. And then it's my job to figure out how it all glues together.
Well, we're excited to rip each episode apart, and magnify glass everything. But and we're also going to respect your time. We could talk forever, but we got you for 40 minutes, which is awesome. I have one last question. If you could summarize the entire new season in one word without spoiling it, what would it be?
Coexistence.
Ooh, that's a good theme.
Yeah, that's probably the overarching theme. The challenges of coexistence figures very prominently throughout the season.
Well, I can't wait to dissect that. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Oh, thank you guys. We love what you do.
Mike, I did such a good job as Seth.
You are so good. In fact, you even took up 2 out of the 3 squares on my screen. So I don't know if that was sort of a Picard maneuver, when it looked like he was in 2 places at once.
No, it was like Riker when he splits himself in the.
Oh, so you were like Thomas Jessica Lynn Verdi and just Jessica Lynn Verdi,
or Thomas Boimler for those that like Lower Decks. I think
who doesn't like name. Lower Decks. So that was a couple of days ago, but through the magic of podcasting and editing, I've had a couple of days.
And Earl.
And Earl. I've had a couple of days to think about how it went. So your impressions first.
Oh God, I don't know what you want me to say. Seth is great. I don't think I was nervous to interview him because obviously he's a professional, and obviously I knew going into it that he likes what we do and he values the content we put out there about his great work. And it was just so easy to talk to him. It was so engaging to talk to him. I'm not surprised about most of the stuff he talked about. And even as myself being a creative, I learned a lot just by talking to him. I'm sure you could tell just based off the questions I was asking. Like, part of my brain was like looking, how do you run a show, or how do you do these things? So it was just a blast. It was a blast talking to him. It
was. So you did mention kind of your run-up of emotions going into it, and I got a conversation or 2 I had that morning. People asked me if I was nervous, and I was like, honestly, no. I'm excited. Really looking forward to it. But I never really did get nervous. And if there were any nerves, I mean, man, he put us at ease right away. I mean, just as soon as he logged in, mentioned just unsolicited that he liked the show, he liked what we do, and that he listened to it, and he was just so easy to talk to, just exactly what you would expect. Great self-deprecating sense of humor, very, very humble, very knowledgeable, very thoughtful. I mean, it wasn't, answers weren't, he didn't try to access the nearest bullet point that was close to what we asked, or sidestep it by saying, "That's a great question, Mike, but let me say this about that," and then answer a completely different question.
Yes.
He very thoughtfully answered all of our questions. Even where there was one point where he said, "Man, that's kind of a hard question. Let me think about that for a second." And he did, and he came up with a great answer.
Well, and I think the best way to look at interviewing anybody, like even when we had the pleasure of interviewing Andre and David, those are questions any other person might ask them, but it's really how our rapport, our listeners are going to listen for how we interact with those people.
Right.
We're not going to get a scoop, but they enjoy however you and I get along. And now we just get to throw Seth in the mix, or David or Andre, and it was so easy. It was so fun. It made me even more excited for season 3 than I already was. Because also I just want to support the heck out of him. I just think he's doing great work.
And it was, I didn't want to get into, my list of questions wasn't, how did things start out? Why are you doing the Orville? All those things have been asked and answered, right? If you want to hear that, you can get that somewhere else. But the questions that we asked, I think, were, a little bit different, a little bit more, of the time right now, and not, of background leading up to the show. But I think the one question and answer that stands out most in my mind was your question. When you put the poor man on the spot and made him sum up 3 years of work in one word.
One season, only one season.
But they've been working on it for 3 years.
Oh, that's fair. You're right. I feel like he acted like he didn't have the answer to that, though.
You think he had the answer?
Good.
It was such a good answer. Coexistence.
No, he did. Yeah, it's such a good answer. That I end my podcast that way sometimes. Like, how would you sum this up? It was kind of my signal to, like, hey, thank you for the extra time. I'm just going to ask you one more simple question, even though it's not that simple, and it still pertains to the goal of what this podcast was to get hyped for season 3. And really and truly, that's kind of what I reflected on more than anything after talking to him, is the theme of coexistence and how it does encompass so many different things that we are going through today. To your point exactly of, this is not about the future. It's about humans in space, which is what any good Star Trek is. And how can we reflect back the issues that we are going through today in a lens that is a little bit more hopeful. So coexistence under that lens in how we're truly, I stopped myself from talking about Russia's horrible attack of Ukraine, but like, that's a version of coexistence that we're struggling with right now.
Correct.
Or coexistence with our planet and in existing harmoniously.
And just coexistence
with different political sides.
Just with each other, with your neighbors, with your family at Thanksgiving dinner, or whatever holiday you choose.
It's like a simple answer, but it does encompass so many different things that we struggle with.
It does. It's big picture stuff. And that's why I like sci-fi when sci-fi is done well, and I think the Orville is doing it well, and I think it's doing it even better from what I've seen and heard about season 3, is looking at human issues, looking at what it looks like, what it means to be a human being from a global perspective.
Totally.
And that's what I got out of it. So what have we learned the last few weeks maybe about season 3 that's got you excited, that's got you amped up, or concerned maybe even?
No. I don't think concerned is even.
Well, I didn't want to, lead the witness.
Oh, I hear you, and I don't feel led. But thank you for that, for the permission to be a thinking person. Wow.
Wow, I just got canceled, and I'll be signing off right now, folks.
Thank you so much. Now this is just the Jessica show. No, you're wonderful. I actually, what I can glean so far based off of the enthusiasm, and not just like selling this show because they have to, is the integrity of the original show that we liked is intact, and all they got to do was just make it even bigger. But like, from what I can tell, they still didn't lose sight of the important storytelling that they were doing and the human aspects of the story. So like, I loved how Seth was talking about how they get to build out these moments, right? That you're going to have an episode that's might just be 40 minutes long on Hulu, but you might have an episode that's an hour 7, and you'll get these. You'll get something. The audience is really smart, and if you let the audience just live with an actor that isn't really saying that much, that's how we can experience art and humanize it for ourselves.
Yeah,
so
you don't have to spell everything out. Let it
I'm
breathe,
excited
like you
for
said.
that. I'm excited.
Yeah, same here. I think they have, from talking to David and Andre and now Seth, and we're going to have another supplemental coming up before season 3.
Well, don't overpromise.
That we just want to tease. Possibly,
we'll see.
We might.
We'll see.
We may. What I've found is that the show has really found itself, where they all said that, Fox marketed it as a comedy right away, but what they're really finding out is that it really is more of an hour-long drama with comedic elements, and that's exciting to hear. When we asked about that kind of pause during the show to just ask the questions, right? Not have a you see Timmy moment, not get lectury, not get preachy, but just ask those questions and let the audience think, because the audience is smart enough to think for themselves. Much like you, Jessica. It is, that was very, very, exciting for me to hear, because that's the heart of the show to me. Those conversations, with Ed and Kelly, or Claire and Kelly, or, sometimes even Gordon and Ed, or somebody else, or maybe 2 other characters that we don't even, haven't really thought of yet.
Yeah, because we have a whole new ensign or lieutenant joining us.
Yeah, Charlie Burke.
Right. Which is, first of all, I love when girls are named boy names. Which doesn't matter in this world. But I've always wanted to be like a Georgie or a Sammy.
That was pretty much our strategy with our daughter. She's a Riley, which was traditionally a boy's name. But we were going to go with like Veronica and nickname her Ronnie, or Michelle and call her Mickey. Like, that was always that kind of...
So cute. Oh, Mickey is such a cute nickname.
Yeah, I think so, too.
I friggin' love that.
But girls' names isn't all we talk about on Mission Log the Orville.
For the most part, no. So, what are you excited about, Mike, for season 3?
I'm excited about the extra time to tell an encapsulated story. I think an issue with serialized storytelling is that you go through a season or a series in the more international convention, and it's one story essentially, with maybe one message, moral meaning thrown in there. But when you have a 10 episodes in this upcoming season 3 of the Orville,
is it 10?
It's 10, I believe. I don't.
For some reason, I'm remembering 8, but that's probably because I'm watching Bridgerton right now.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I think it was 10 versus 13, but they're longer, so the content is about the same, is my understanding. I could be wrong. But then you get 10 different stories to reflect upon, and even though the characters can have character development and growth and things that carry from episode to episode to episode through that, you're really looking at 10 different kind of scenarios to think your way through. And I'm excited about that. I really, really am.
Totally. And I think you and I can both agree that, well, I was going to say the same thing I've already said in a different way, but the excitement for the show I don't think has gone away. I think Seth said this too. Perhaps more people has gotten an opportunity to come to find this show in their own way. I know that I got to, well, because I'm getting paid to do a podcast.
Thank you, Rod.
I flippin' love this show. I really do. Like, legitimately, the trailer gave me chills. The new posters look amazing. Every time they post, every time Seth or the cast posts something about the orchestra, it's very exciting. And I'm in. I'm all in.
Yeah, the amount of time we spent talking about the music on the during the interview was, I think, very, very valuable, but also kind of unforeseen for me. And as you know, I love talking about the music on the show, and so
I was going to say that to him that you're the music guy, and then you jumped in there to say that you were.
But I'm the music guy, Seth!
And I was going to tell him that.
No.
It's okay.
No reason at all. I was just excited to talk about that, but that just shows how much that's one aspect of the show that people don't even get to see.
But he was right, and I said it, and he said it. It's a character, right?
Yeah.
It's a character of the show.
Yeah.
It makes us experience the whole thing with a pretty beautiful bow that doesn't make us question the experience.
And another thing that I didn't mention, I was remiss on doing that, is that whether Andrew does the music, or John Debney, or whomever. Or Joel McNeely. There were 3 people that did the music in seasons 1, 2, and 3, with maybe a smattering of one other. I did notice in episode 1 of New Horizons that somebody else did the music, but in all of it, it's very consistent. I can't tell if it's a Joel McNeely episode, or if it's a John Debney episode, or if it's an Andrew Cotty episode. They're all sort of, I think, given the same maybe vision, or same sort of this is how we want the music to feel and be presented, and to have a team of creatives sort of that big, all
working together
and producing a consistent content
harmoniously.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not surprising, considering they're all music boys.
Yeah.
That they can work harmoniously together, because their job is not to rewrite the book for the show. Their job is to make the show fluid, right?
And I just, I was thinking about the episode of Family Guy where they were doing a Star Wars spoof or skit, and John Williams died, and they had to bring in somebody else to do the music. It was
not Randy Newman, right?
No, it was.
I kind of remember this though.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on the name, but all of a sudden the musical style was completely different and almost comical. So we don't see that. We see consistency from show to show to show, even though there are several different composers, and I do like that a lot. So.
And I think it will change based off the length of each episode too, because we are probably going to get a little bit more cinematic in general. So
yes,
so I think we're up for a good 10 episodes once this season airs. I'm really excited.
Yeah, same here.
And without saying too much, we're going to be able to get those episodes out to people sooner. So hopefully, there's a potential where just after it airs, there probably is going to be an episode very shortly after. So we're going to do our best to do that. We always love knowing what you all love about the show. So don't hesitate to go to our Twitter, which is, ML_the Orville. You can email us at missionlog-the-orville@roddenberry.com. And if you join the Patreon, you can talk to us on our Discord. There are so many ways you can get in contact with us. We really want to know what you're excited for.
If you're on Facebook, you can get us at Mission Log Pod also.
Oh, there you go.
That's the dedicated Mission Log Facebook group, but you can talk to us there too.
And I want to know if people, what would your questions be for not the actors, but the characters of the show? So if you have a question like, Dr. Finn, I just would love to know what people want to ask. I'm going to sneeze, so I'm going to mute myself so you can wrap us out.
Sure, or Gordon, what's it like to hug the donkey? Or to John,
exactly.
To John Lamar, do you allow people to drink soda in engineering? Because I know you wanted to drink soda on the bridge.
Not.
So
probably not.
There's some sensitive equipment down there. I didn't hear you sneeze, but
I did it.
Okay.
I stopped myself by talking about it. I think I'm excited. Remember that you said that. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Remember that you said that.
All right.
Mike, more than anything that I'm looking forward to in season 3 is to have another excuse to talk to you at least 10 more times.
All right. Well, hopefully it'll be at least 10 more times. We'll get that. And I am looking forward to that. This is my weekly, sometimes more than weekly, ability to reflect, to think of ideas to try to make better decisions, and it's just good therapy for me, man. I enjoy talking to you, and
that's why I do so many podcasts.
Good,
because it's therapy, man.
Yeah, it is 100%. So we'll let you go. Hopefully you enjoyed the interview with Seth MacFarlane as much as we did, and we're really looking forward to season 3, New Horizons, dropping on June 2nd, and look for a show to drop right after each episode of the Orville, New Horizons.
Honk, honk. I don't know why. It was like the truck with trains coming. Honk, honk.
Engage Quantum Drive.
Mike, I'll see you then.
All right. I'll see you then, too. Mission Log, The Orville, is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment. Technical production by the amazing Earl Green. You can reach us at Mission Log Pod on Facebook, ML_the Orville on Twitter. You You can email us at
Missionlog.
missionlog-theorville at roddenberry.com.
And sleep well and prosper.
And may the force be with you.
There you go.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.